Hi, I am Nuan from Stats.org. In this video, I am going to provide a brief guide about the errors that can be made in hypothesis testing. So, first off, what are the two types of errors in testing of the hypothesis? In general, statisticians define two types of errors in hypothesis testing. Creatively, they call these errors type 1 and type 2 errors. Both types of errors relate to incorrect conclusions about the null hypothesis. If the null hypothesis is rejected when it is true, then a type 1 error has occurred. The probability of making a type 1 error is alpha, which is the level of significance you set for your hypothesis test. An alpha of 0.05 indicates that you are willing to accept a 5% chance that you are wrong when you reject the null hypothesis. To lower this risk, you must use a lower value for alpha. However, using a lower value for alpha means that you will be less likely to detect a true difference if one really exists. If the null hypothesis is not rejected when it is false, then a type 2 error has been made. The probability of making a type 2 error is beta, which depends on the power of the test. You can decrease your risk of committing a type 2 error by ensuring your test has enough power. You can do this by ensuring your sample size is large enough to detect a practical difference when one truly exists. To understand the interrelationship between type 1 and type 2 error, consider the following example of third umpire's decision in regards to this run out in a cricket match. What do you think? Out or not out? Okay, well, anytime we make a decision using statistics, there are 4 possible outcomes with 2 representing correct decisions and 2 representing errors. In here, a type 1 error occurs if the third umpire rejects the null hypothesis and concludes that as a batsman who failed to enter into the crease before the removal of bails is declared out when in fact it is not. However, if a type 2 error occurs, the third umpire fails to reject the null hypothesis when it should be rejected. That is, the third umpire fails to reject the null hypothesis and concludes that as a batsman who not failed to enter into the crease before the removal of bail is declared out when in fact it is not. However, you don't really want to make any of the 2 errors, but it happens sometimes. That means we cannot prove or disprove anything by hypothesis testing and statistical tests. We can only knock down or reject the null hypothesis and by default accept the alternative hypothesis. If we fail to reject the null hypothesis, we accept it by default. Alright, that's all about this video. Thanks for watching.